Good evening, everyone. Would you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Here.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Here.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Here.
Councilman Marcocha?
Here.
Supervisor Colavita?
Here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. If anyone would like to address the board on a specific agenda item, now's the time to do so. Just raise your hand. All right, moving forward then. Approval of the minutes of the May 20th, 2025 Town Board meeting. Any proposed modifications or amendments?
None. So moved.
All right, I'll second same. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. On appointments, we have the General Repairer in Parks and Recreation, and at the request of our Superintendent of Parks and Recreations, she's requesting the probationary appointment of Alan Martinez to the position of General Repairer. Alan has been employed by the town since January 18th, 2018. The appointment will be effective June 6, 2025, at a salary of $78,401. Group I, Schedule 2, Step 5. He will serve a probation of a minimum of 12 weeks to a maximum of 52 weeks. Funds have been provided for in the 2025 budget, and Alan has done an excellent job as a laborer here in the town of Eastchester. Very diligent, works hard, and comes to work ready to go every day. So I'll make a motion on this and ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have reports of departments, boards, and commissions. Law Department report, Mr. Rader.
Yes, good evening. First, I have a resolution authorizing the approval of an application for a fireworks event permit submitted by Celebrations Firework, Inc. to be held on Friday, June 20th, 2025.
All right, this is part of our summer kickoff event at Lake Isle. It's a lot of fun, and of course, fireworks are spectacular, and the new company we have doing them is doing a great job, so we invite everybody to come up and have a good time, or be in the perimeter or visual perimeter. Anyway, I'll make the motion this. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
No, aye.
Councilman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye.
Okay, next, I have a resolution authorizing the settlement of a certiorari proceeding instituted by Nippy LLC, affecting the premises known as Section 32, Block 4, and there are two lots here, the first lot being Lot 4, and the address on Lot 4 is 103 Lake Avenue, the second lot being Lot 6, and that's for 97 Lake Avenue, and the assessment years for both lots are 2020 through 2024. The tax years on both lots, 2021 through 2025, and the total town tax refund on Lot 4 is $115.86, and the total tax refund on Lot 6 is $220.11, for a total of $335.97 on both lots.
Yeah, our kind of tax cert.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Mr. Dooley, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have correspondence. We have a memorandum from the controller on some personnel appointments. These are part-time and seasonal, pretty much recreation in Lake Isle. Someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have a memorandum from the controller regarding audit services, and we have a current contract with PKF O'Connor Davies LLP for auditing services, which expired on 12/31/24. So we're going to re-up with them. The audit fee is slightly higher for the next 3 years based upon the town's longstanding relationship with PKF, and there were many years that they went in with no increase at all. And they do a very good job for us, along with many other municipalities, and we have never had a hiccup with them regarding our audits or any of our financial work. That's largely because Dawn Donovan's office does an excellent job, but I have no issue with this, and I'll make the motion and ask for a second for the audit years 25 through 27.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. There being no miscellaneous business, we have the council member reports. Councilman Marcocha?
Thank you, Supervisor. Just have a brief report here. Lake Isle membership for golf, pool, and tennis continues. Anyone interested in joining can download an application online or visit the membership office. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekends. The next advisory board meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 21st at 7 p.m. in the community center at Lake Isle. Also, be sure to visit Gigante's Restaurant. They have several summer events planned, a Thursday evening price fix menu, and a popular Sunday brunch. Visit www.gigantesrestaurant.com for more information. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nicholson?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. I have no special report today except for a request to slow down in our town as we have kids now coming out of school soon and racing around and getting ready to enjoy the summertime. So that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Marcotte?
Thank you, Supervisor. I just have a couple of things I want to acknowledge and thank all of the residents and the Historical Society membership that attended our annual meeting on Sunday. I would also like to acknowledge Supervisor Calavita and to Councilwoman Nicholson for attending the event. We did a great unveiling of a new sign. We'd like to thank Sand Signs, Michael Santoliquidor, who's a resident here in town. We also congratulate Paul Mangione, who I think is our newest Eagle Scout in the town, and it was our distinct honor to unveil a plaque to the memory of Michael Fick. So I want to thank all those people who attended. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the Eastchester School District for bringing their fourth grade class. They haven't been to the Marble Schoolhouse in many, many years, and I think Councilman Giacobbe and Trustee Lori Giacobbe and the Board of Ed had a hand in that, so I thank you. It's an important endeavor, and we were pleased to host that school today at the Marble Schoolhouse, so I thank them. And I just want to mention that early voting for the June primary, but not for the town of Eastchester, is going to start in just a few weeks. And you're going to see the signs in front of the Eastchester Library. And the reason they're using that is because Scarsdale has a primary. So that is one of the closest and most convenient early voting sites. But for the residents, for the town of Eastchester, there is no primary. So don't feel inclined to stop and vote or attend early voting. There is no primary taking place in the town of Eastchester. It's only for Scarsdale and Greenberg residents. So I just wanted to put that out there, and that concludes my report, Supervisor.
Thank you. Councilman Giacobbe?
Thank you, Supervisor. This year, we'll be holding our summer kickoff and fireworks event again at Lake Isle on Friday, June 20th. The parking lot will open at 8 p.m. for seating. The DJ dance party begins at 8 p.m. We'll have food trucks there again, and the fireworks begin at 9:30 p.m. Once again, we'll be holding our summer concert series at Lake Isle up at the driving range. The full lineup will be posted by the end of this week. And I would just like to say congratulations to our Park and Recreation Department, who are on the cover of the Eastchester Neighbors magazine, which many of you have received in the mail already. If you did not receive a copy, you can come. Actually, we have a couple copies here at Town Hall. Our Recreation and Parks Department does a great job, and there's a really nice write-up in the magazine this month about our brand-new Leawood Park. So thank you.
All right. For my own report, I just want to piggyback on something Sheila said with regard to Scarsdale. I saw this online petition, whereas the village of Scarsdale, or the town/village, wants to make the 10583 zip code their exclusive zip code. So the north end of our town, some sections of Greenberg would be their own zip, or we would go to all 10709, which is perfectly fine with me. So just be on the lookout for that. I'm not sure what the U.S. Postal Service will do. They generally are reluctant to change zip codes because people have stationary, letters, wills, important documents get mailed. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with that, but just be on the lookout for that. And of course, if that happens, we'll report about that. And that's all I'm going to mention for this evening. So that brings us to the second opportunity to address the board. Yes, sir. Just give us your name and address, please.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Vincent Amato. I live at 115 Lawrence Avenue, a resident of 43 years, and this is my first time addressing the board with a concern, so it's not a bad record. The issue I want to bring before the board is leaf blowers. No matter it's the noise level. Something has happened with them over time where you have a 60 by 100 lot and people come with 2, sometimes 3 backpack commercial leaf blowers, throw in a lawnmower. The decibel noise is unbelievable. My wife went out on a deck for a property 2 lots away. The decibels was 103. That's airport. Inside, doors and windows closed. It's in the 70s when they do it. So I think there is a health issue, quality of life issue. I believe it should be regulated under the noise ordinances. I'm not sure who enforces it, and how do you enforce it? Who do you call? But, you know, because they'll be gone in 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Well, somebody else will start across the street, but still. I'd like to also bring certain options that I've heard other towns around the country have adopted. And I'm saying we all know about the ones that ban leaf blowers. And I'm sort of sensitive to the landscapers who have to make a living, and time is money. But some towns have said, well, only during leaf season. Other towns have said like a Monday or Thursday, just to sort of bring some regulation to it and some sanity, so it's not a constant thing. And even the battery-operated ones that have a very high pitch, and they have documented health concerns as well. So I'd like the board to consider some steps to regulate their use, to bring it within, let's say, acceptable limits of some sort.
All right, we'll take that under advisement. I know that in the past, some people have asked about that. We have members of our environmental committee that are, small machinery operators, so they're very sensitive to it. And as you know, probably the emissions level, the decibel levels all have to come down. There's a certain year in the future it's all got to change. But, that's not a bad thought about the Monday to Thursday thing, because someone had mentioned that also, nothing on the weekends, because that's when people are home. But you have to keep in mind, too, that would include everyone trying to do their leaves for the party, for the communion party, whatever. But generally, if it's not abusive, it's not a bad thing. The other thing that we have to work on, and we've commenced working on it, is our noise ordinance. The noise ordinance is outdated, antiquated, and I'm not sure if it holds constitutional muster. We had a problem with our sign ordinance, and we ended up doing a brand-new sign ordinance. I see us going in that direction for the noise ordinance as well. So we've been working with council to, put together what we want to have is, something that other communities will take from us and use. We want to make it that kind of quality, and we're already going on that.
Yeah, there was one other point that some of the other towns had noticed, like in this off-season with the leaf blowers, they're really blowing the pollen and the dirt into the air. That's all that they're doing. And it's another health hazard. It's a quality of life issue. So to the extent that it can be looked at and bring some sanity to it, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for the time.
Just so you know, too, Mr. Amato, the head of the Westchester County Landscape Association is an Eastchester resident, and I'll reach out to him, because in the past, they've been very good about working with the landscapers to put on the mufflers and to do, whatever it is that's appropriate. And they also complain that, well, they're going to be there longer, they're going to charge the customer more, and then, the leaves will be piled up on the street and all that. But I think, you raise a very good point about compromise. Have a little bit of it both ways, and I think that's not a bad idea.
And I don't know whether it's the workers sometimes versus the owners. There are a lot of factors, but to the extent it can be sort of controlled, it would be great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Frank.
Good evening. I'm Frank Sweeney, 22 Lakeview Avenue, a 55-year resident of Eastchester. I come tonight before you perplexed, confused, and hoping together we can put together what I perceive is something that I heard as it relates to Woodruff Avenue and there's some additional parking that's going to be put on the properties that surround my house and two of the other residents that are here that want to express their opinion. First of all, I'd like to know, is it a true opinion of
Talking
the...
about widening the curb on Woodruff
That's true.
from the bottom to about 10 lengths up? Yes.
Was there a survey done?
No, we were contacted by the business owners to do something, and you and I spoke about this in the fall. And
We spoke about it, but there was nothing ever done in terms of a survey. The survey would have been nice to let the people who own the property that you're going to take away from at least have notice.
well, okay, I don't disagree, but the property's not the homeowner's property, it's a town right-of-way.
I realize it's a
And
town
we're going
property.
in only 2 feet.
Those two buildings that are across the street haven't changed in the last 100 years. The footprint has not changed.
You mean the commercial buildings, you mean?
Both of them.
Yeah.
69 and
700,
700.
yeah, yeah.
Both of them. So we know where the position is coming from in terms of why they want additional parking. We
It
know
wasn't-
why.
Yeah, it was the more of it came from the retail stores on the first floor of, I forget the name of it, 69, I guess.
And one of the premises is that the salon extended their premise to another store.
All right, that's correct, yeah, yeah.
And now they're short parking spaces. Is that true?
Well, there's no parking there at all. So, anything.
There is
that
parking
increases
there.
Parking, no, I'm saying in the back of the building, that's predominantly used, to the best of my knowledge, from the people that reside upstairs, the condo owners.
Well, how about the remaining part of Woodruff Avenue to Elida? How about the Elida all the way down to front of the
Oh, you mean,
salon?
I'm sorry, Frank, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted what you said.
Okay.
Yes, I
There's
thought there
parking.
was small amount of parking behind the building, like on the building grounds. But there is parking that goes up that side, the south side of Woodruff, behind those buildings, goes up, quite a bit. That's
So there
correct.
is
You're
parking.
correct. There is.
My question was, is that when this new extension of the hair salon, they knew the parking was going to be an issue. It's not new. They knew it's going to be an issue. Now all of a sudden they're coming back to the town and saying, we got no place to park. Now we need to fix it.
Well, actually, I wasn't communicated to by the hair salons. It was the other stores that were in that area there. They're the ones that reached out and said, is there any possible way we could have a little more street parking in the vicinity? And obviously, you can't do it on Brook because that's lined up. The one side of, I'm going to say that the building side of Woodruff has parking. So I met with Mr. Latella, Lisa Graff, we went out there, and he said the only place we could put a little parking would be, from there's a big tree right by the stop sign on the bottom of Woodruff going towards Scarsdale. Come up, maybe, I don't know how many feet, but about 8-10 car lengths worth. By moving the curb in a couple of feet, we could have enough width to have, emergency vehicles pass through and all. There's nobody's house there. There's the back of a house. That's
Well,
the
it's in the
rear
back of
yard.
my house in which I have access to Woodruff Avenue.
Well, that's why I asked you about it.
That's right. I own that property in the back.
Yeah, I got that. But my point, we had a conversation about that, and you said, sure, I don't think that'd be a bad idea. And I said, okay, then we ran with it. I mean, we thought that the issue was going all the way up, but then that would be in front of people's houses. We didn't want to do that.
Oh, you don't want to do that? No.
No.
No,
So
no,
it's,
no.
it's starting from the end is, I don't know, it's got a triangular lot that's houses under construction. I don't know if it's finished or not. That spot, and I don't know how many feet it is, to the end of the block. So I think we get maybe 8-10 cars, maybe.
I am flabbergasted. You've gone ahead and get this done, or try to get it done. I have 3 neighbors here. I have one that recently just sold his house with a brand-new owner coming in, and we're going to surprise him now with 3 parking spots in front of his house.
No, there's no parking in front of anybody's house. The parking doesn't go from Elida down the street. It just commences where there's where the bend in the road is. There's a an embankment.
There's not a house on the end? There's not a house on the bend in the road?
No, there's a White House there, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the owner's sitting right there.
Okay, but I'm just saying, but the parking's not starting in front of his house. It's down further, down the end of the lot.
It's 10 to 20 feet in front of the driveway. Okay, Tony?
All right, well, either way, there's a parking problem there, and we're trying to alleviate the problem and, not have anyone parking in front of anybody else's house, and just trying to add some parking for the business district and the apartment building, which is overwhelmed. And we're not fronting in front of anybody's home. It's the backyard of, I guess, your home now, and that triangular area that goes to the point of Lakeview.
She's sitting here as well.
Yeah. Got it. So what would you suggest? Don't put the parking in?
We're deathly against it. Absolutely.
But then-
Why not put it on the other side of the street? Oh, we don't want to do that because there's 4 telephone poles there.
No, it's not that. We looked at the other side of the street, but the other
Yeah.
side of the street has curb
I look at it
cuts.
every day.
They have curb cuts there, and the curb cuts interfere with parking spots, because you obviously can't have one in front of a spot. You have the back of the commercial building, the condo building. You have the back of, I think there's 2 driveways for 700 White Plains Road, plus you sprinkle in a fire hydrant, a couple of signs. We're not going to capture any spaces there.
I don't know where we go.
Well, look,
We've done this road around the past a dozen times where people come to us and say, we don't have enough parking. But they come to us after the fact. This is a fact that they knew when they expended that salon. They were going to have a problem. 6 new hairdressers with 5 clients during the day. That's 60 spots. Somewhere we're going to have to find 60 spots.
Well, we're not.
Guess
we're not
what? It's
putting
too
in
late
60
now.
spots. But they were not. Look, I don't want to compromise anyone that spoke to me in confidence, but it was not the salon that asked for these spaces. It was people upstairs in the building and other stores in the storefront, and they said, "Could you please help us? Is there any place you could put extra parking?" Nobody lived there. There was no interference with anything. We're moving the curb in 2 feet. No trees are coming down, none of that. We're just looking to try to get a few spaces in during business hours.
At our cost.
Well, I don't know how it's costing you, as it's not, in front of your home. It's barely in the back of your home.
Well, I have a 40-foot deck hanging off the end of my house. Those cars are going to be right below that deck. Tough.
I can't remember,
No,
Frank,
you can't
where the
remember.
deck is in proximity
But I've
to the
lived here for
parking.
55 years, Tony. And this is unheard of.
Well, it's not unheard of. We put parking on the other side of the street. We put parking all over the place, because that's what we have to do. We have to try to accommodate everybody.
But you don't cut the curbs for 3 existing homeowners who have lived here, in case of some other people that live on Woodruff Avenue, more than my 55 years in terms of trying to make it happen. You want to find parking? I'll tell you where to find them, Chief. There's 14 spots on Woodruff Avenue to Oneida. There's about 16 spots from Oneida down to the front of the salon. Guess what? They're parking spaces that are being maintained by maybe the people in the building, but guess what? The parking regulations haven't been enforced forever. Chief, I can guarantee there hasn't been a ticket issued on Woodruff Avenue, Harney Road in the last 5 years. Not one. And the current parking regulations require us to call the police department and turn the proverbial person in that's driving on the street. Not done. It's unacceptable, Tony. It's unacceptable.
Well, Frank, with all due respect, I'm very confident that there's been a ticket issued in the last 5 years in that area. And if there's a person that's not parking properly, you should call. I call on my street. I do the same thing. If people are out of control, you need to do that. But notwithstanding that, there should be automatic enforcement, and if it's not up to snuff, then we'll increase that. But we're just trying to put a couple of spaces where they're not going to bother anybody. Not going to be in front of somebody's house. They're not going to be in the way. They're not going to be, blocking the driveway or a fire hydrant or whatever the case might be. And that little strip of area right there on Woodruff, we thought was a good location. Now, we can control the hours that a car is parked there. We could have no parking on the weekends. We could have, 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock. There's a lot of different ways to go about controlling that area. But, after conversing with the with the lieutenant in charge of traffic and Mr. Latella, who is the, superintendent of highways, we looked at everything, looked at the other side, looked all over. Because you can't park on Scarsdale Avenue, it's too tight. And we don't want to introduce any parking on, going around the corner and coming up, because they ain't going to have people parking and walking in front of the house all day long. So that's where that little strip right there came in, and that's where we looked at it.
Now let's take a look at the two-way parking, coming up and down. What is the width of the road with the 2-foot curb cut leaving the center of the road for two-way traffic?
I can't give you the numbers. I don't know what the numbers are, but Mr. Latella measured it out and said that
I'll
if we
tell you
go
what
in-
it is.
We go in 2 feet, we have enough for two-way traffic.
We're going to talk about school buses. We're going to talk about garbage trucks, picking up trash at 7 o'clock in the morning from 69. We now have an issue, not only on Honey Road, but everybody's aware of it. They cut through Woodruff Avenue to cut off the Harney Road light to Scarsdale. And the people coming down Scarsdale Avenue take a detour on a diagonal, come up Woodruff, go to Elida, and try to get back onto Harney Road. This is way deeper than just a couple parking spots, way deeper. It's a change of lifestyle. It's a change of community. It's a change that somehow, somewhere, whether they want it or not, in my opinion, it's too late. Too late. We turn everybody else down, saying, you knew when you moved it in? Hey,
Well,
tough.
It's not too late, because the places,
Where are you going to put it?
parking
Give me
spots
a
haven't
break.
been installed yet.
Do we want to move up to Woodruff Avenue and enforce those laws? They are unacceptable in terms of the abilities. We call, and it takes 72 hours for the police department to put a ticket on the car. And then they get another 72 hours before they can move it.
Well, that's a
We're
little-
now talking about a week.
Yeah, that's a little different story.
No, it's not a different story, because the same thing will happen with these spaces down at the end of Woodruff Avenue. Same thing.
Not if they're 4-hour meters.
We don't want to make them 4 hours. They're
Meters
2
for
hours.
4-hour parking.
No, not allowed.
It is allowed. And where do you suggest we put spaces? How do we create parking for that area?
You want to enforce the laws? There's 14 spots on Woodruff Avenue going up to Elida. It's a 2-hour parking spot. Enforce it. 2 hours in front of the bakery. Enforce it. Enforce it.
I got that, but it's still,
Oh,
it's still
yeah,
insufficient.
what do you want us to do? You want to take us our responsibility now? We'll just cut the curb out and lay it down. The people will park there 6, 7 hours, whatever the case may be.
No, it's not going to be 6 or 7 hours. We control the parking there. We can set the times. And again, if enforcement is issued, then that's on us to correct the enforcement problem. But I have a sneaking suspicion there's a lot more enforcement that's going on there than you think.
This is my nth degree. 55 years here, and you want to take a piece, which is yours, you can do. A little bit of slice and try to help some people out.
We're taking 2 feet of property we own.
I don't care if it's
to
2
try to
inches,
help some
Tony.
parking.
I don't care if it's 2 inches.
Yeah, well, look, we spoke about it. You said you had no problem with it, so we advanced on it. If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to meet you there with Mr. Latella. We'll go over it, get the tape measure out, figure it out, maybe, come up with a better plan or some other idea. That's fine. But, we trying to help that building, to survive. Empty buildings mean tax cert proceedings. Tax cert proceedings mean the tax base goes down. Every residential owner has to pay the difference. We're trying to keep the business economy going. It's not as easy as that. But I understand what you're saying. I got your point. So we'll connect. We'll go out, take a walk, and see what we can do there.
I'm not interested in walking it.
I like to go out there and look at it so we can get a better idea. If you don't want to do that, we'll just meet in my office. That's fine.
You're going to cut me a cut on my driveway so I can get out of my rear property?
You don't have a curb cut there now,
Well, it's my property. How am I going to get in and out of it?
the way you've done for 55 years on
Yeah.
Lakeview.
Who put the bushes in and who put the shrubberies in?
I'm sorry, say again, Frank.
Yeah.
Shrubbery?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think there's much, there's a little bit of shrubbery there, but I don't think it's even going to be affected by this.
No, not the case.
Well, I don't know, look, there's a lot of ways to go about improving things. If we could put a fence up on our end, if you think that would look nice, something like that, we could put shrubs in. We could do whatever we can to, so you're happy and they're happy. But our goal here is not to, force anything nobody wants. Our goal is to try to help people so that we don't have, people parked all over the place, like a broken ant farm, which is the problem, like at the top of the hill. There's 5 parking lots in a maybe 500-foot radius on the other side of White Plains Road, and everybody parks in front of everybody's house, And it's a shame that we don't have that parking availability down below. But, this is not in front of anyone's home. It's in your rear yard, which you don't
That doesn't count, I
access.
guess. Rear yards don't count.
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't count, but
Yeah,
I'm
what
saying
the hell? We'll just put it in
not in
there
front of a
anyway.
house, though. It's
Yeah,
not-
rear yards. So we'll let them fight it. Tony, I'm telling you right now that the enforcement of the laws right now are unacceptable on Woodruff Avenue, whether you put these in or out. The existing ones got to be enforced. And that needs to change with the unacceptable capability for him to do his job, waiting 72 hours. And then, by the way, when they do it, they turn in the homeowner to the person who's been parking there. Totally unacceptable.
I mean, they say that so-and-so called.
Someone called.
Yeah, they shouldn't do that. That's not.
They shouldn't be doing that.
Should not do that, no.
Unacceptable.
Well, what is the parking there presently on Woodruff? Is it 4 hour? It's 2 hour? Okay, just so people at home know, it's 2 hour parking, that's the
2
question.
hours.
All right. Well, look, I'd like to go over this a little further with you, see if we can't work a compromise out somehow, but, we're trying to do the best we can for everybody down there.
I have a problem with it. Trying to do your best. They haven't been a good neighbor. You can test to that gentleman right here. Not a good neighbor.
The building you're talking about,
Yeah.
the commercial building, yeah.
And not talking about being nice to one another. I didn't want to bring it up tonight.
All right, well, it is what it is. If they're not being that kind and not being good, it's okay to say that.
The key here is that the capabilities of now trying to supplement something after the fact, whether it's this hair salon, there's only 3 stores there. One is a dog walking store that does washing of dogs, the hair salon, and a builder, a general contractor. That's it on the first floor. Now, if the people in the house or in the condominiums don't have space, it's another issue altogether.
Look, I want to be clear. I don't want to turn this place into one of the 5 boroughs with regard to parking. But we looked at that location. We saw that this was not going in front of anybody's home and that there was a definite need. And the hair salon, they come and go like the wind. They're like nail salons here. They come and go like the wind. Either way, we still need to try to put a little more parking in an acute area that's struggling for spaces. So that was the thought. And when we talked about it, and you said it was okay, green light, that's when we advanced on it. But I think what we should do is we'll sit down, go over what we can do there for you, or lessen the number of spaces, or relocate them. But, we went through it with the person that's in charge of traffic for the police department and also the superintendent of highways. And that was the collective decision. Okay, this is the way to go about this the best with the least amount of intrusion and interference and what do you call it?
There's no intrusion in enforcing the laws.
That's a different
Woodruff?
story.
It's a different story.
Now we have to do better, I
You'll
guess.
pick
if
up
that's the
25
case.
spots immediately.
Wait a second. It's not 25. No, it would not be that many.
Sure. Go from Woodruff all the way to
I'm sorry.
Oneida,
I thought you
go
meant the new
Oneida
spot.
around the corner, all the way down to Scarsdale Avenue. There are 2-hour parking spots there. Never to be issued a ticket. Never.
Well, if that's the case, that's going to change tomorrow. because the chief is here.
Well,
and
maybe
we're-
you could change the decision to put the curb cuts in, too.
That's possible.
Possible.
All right, well, look, if you guys want to meet, I'm happy to sit down with you.
No, I don't want to meet.
All right, well,
We're not in favor of it.
okay.
We're dead set against it. And what we've put something together that alludes to the fact that they're going to do something is even worse. Is even worse. Without at least addressing, I'm only a small owner in the back. You've got people here that have 70, 80 feet of backyard space. We have a home that just sold for less than $1 million on this curve that you're talking about.
Yeah, but once again, there's no parking in front of anybody's house.
I don't care where the parking is, whether it's in front or back. It's immaterial, Tony. It doesn't belong there. If you want me to have the place filled up next month, I'll bring everybody in the north end down here.
Look, all right, I'm offering to meet and go over some ideas. You don't want to do that? We'll have to make a decision what we're going to do.
I think you need to talk it out. You need to survey it out. You need to talk about the fire. You need to talk about the two-way streets in terms of the traffic. All of this stuff has not been done. And now all of a sudden you come up with a 2-foot cut that's going to solve the problem.
The
That's
2-foot
pure
cut,
BS.
The 2-foot cut was the result of meeting with the police lieutenant and the superintendent of highways. I wouldn't just go there and make it up, say, I'll take 2 feet and put some cars in. It was examined, but you don't want to hear that, so.
It's a poor way to identify what you were going to do without identifying at least the homeowners.
We spoke about it. This is the 4th time I mentioned it. We spoke about it. You said you thought it was a good idea, no problem.
No. I
Yes,
said,
absolutely, in the fall. All right, whatever. I guess I was not understanding what you were saying.
I think it needs to be resolved.
Just don't put it in. That's your resolution, is don't bother trying to help anybody there, just don't put it in.
We're not talking about not helping anybody. We're talking about the abilities to take and enforce what we have and give them the 25 parking spots. That's what we're talking about. They don't want that because the people who live in 69, guess what? Park there all week, park there all day. There's nothing being done. Then we have this 72-hour window. We can't do anything. Then they have to have another 72 hours, which is an off shift for a guy coming on or a lady coming on. Oh, we've got to issue tickets. It is unbearable.
Well, maybe if we do a little more enforcement, then we could delay this for a bit and enforce and see if it has an impact. That's a possibility too. But, look, we could talk about this for 2 hours.
No, you're going to have to change the law, Tony. You're going to have to change the law about enforcement. That's it.
No, the law is a good one. It's the enforcement is the issue.
No, it's the law. You have 72 hours to respond. You got to take it. If they're there after 2 hours, you give them a ticket. If they're there after 2 more hours, you tow them
Not a
away.
ticket, right?
That's it. Pretty simple solution for it.
Yeah, that's what it is. I got no problem with that. I'm just suggesting, though, if we're going to do a crackdown on enforcement in the area, I don't know if that's going to have any kind of meaningful impact. If it does, then we'll see. Maybe that loosens things up a little bit. If it doesn't, then we can consider doing this. When you sit down and talk and go over stuff, you have good ideas. That's why I suggested that.
Well, it doesn't really address all the parameters that are involved in the Woodruff Avenue. It's just not the parking. It's the two-way traffic. It's the ability to have school buses that come up and down. It's the diagonal of people wanting to get around the light at Brook Street, coming down Harney Road. They get onto a lighter, shoot down Woodruff Avenue so they can get around the light. This is bigger than a loaf of bread. This is bigger than a loaf of bread. I'd like to have some of the neighbors express their opinion if I haven't done so correctly. I feel fairly strongly that this is something that has to be resolved. It needs to be enforced. And if they want 25 more parking spots, I can give you to tomorrow morning. That's all the chief has to do. You start writing and then wait the 72 hours. Then the next shift comes on and they wait 72 hours. In the meantime, we've got the car parked across the street for a week. Not going to work.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to introduce some of them.
Good evening. My name is Michael Fasiglione. I live at 43 Woodruff Avenue. I am a 61-year resident of Woodruff Avenue. I've been there about as long as the street has been there. Firstly, let me say that I am firmly opposed to this plan that's in works, and I'll give you a couple of quick reasons. I'll try to be brief. I'm going to reiterate some of the things that Frank had mentioned. First of all, there is a constant backup due to that red light on Harney Road, on Brook and Harney. And what ends up happening, as Frank had mentioned, is that Woodruff has been a cut-through forever. Interrupted a lot of my kids' baseball games for many, many years, but it's been a cut-through going north to Scarsdale Avenue, and from Scarsdale Avenue coming up north to hit Brook Street. I've counted close to 200 cars a day coming through that area. And my firm belief is that if we add more parking to the bottom of Woodruff, it's just going to exacerbate the problem that's been there for 60 years since I've been there. A second problem really occurs with what, again, Frank had mentioned, the fact that there is a very lax enforcement of the Parking Enforcement Bureau on Woodruff Avenue. The word lax is generous. It doesn't exist in plain English. On the south side of Woodruff, there are now signs. By the way, let me just back up a bit and say that in the 61 years that I've been there, there have probably been 7 different sign variations that have gone from 0 parking to you could park there for your entire lifetime if you'd like. I've been the policeman. There are people that live on Garth Road that would come and park their cars there and go away on vacation, park their cars for 2 to 3 weeks. There were people that lived on Shady Lane, trucks that parked in front of my house for years. I've been fighting this situation for many, many years. But the real problem is that in today's world, the signage says 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and I believe it says no parking on Monday. There could be a window. I think it's 12 to 1 or 1 to 2. I'm not too sure, but it doesn't matter what the signage says, because the reality is that there are cars that park there from 8 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. It's just a place to park. It is not transient parking. It is not parking for people who come to go to Galloway's and buy a piece of cake and leave. That's 10 or 15 minutes. Or even for the hairdresser, which is maybe an hour. That certainly is acceptable. These cars are there from morning until night. There are some cars that park there for 10 to 12 days. Get in your car, go to Woodruff Avenue right now. There's a car sitting across the street from my driveway at 43 that's been there for 10 days. There's a sign on it. Please don't give me a ticket because my battery's dead. It takes 24 hours to charge a battery, but that car's been sitting there for 10 days. The point is that Woodruff Avenue has become a dumping grounds. People just park there, pay no attention to the signage, and the code enforcement doesn't exist. Now, when I become a vigilante and I call the police department, I'm told there's a 72-hour grace period. We can't do anything for 72 hours. Okay, so I wait 72 hours and I call again and they said, okay, now there's another 72-hour grace period. That's 6 days. By that time, the weekend comes up and it doesn't count on the weekend. So the whole situation just doesn't work. And my contention is that if you were to add additional parking down at the bottom of Woodruff, it's just going to add to the problem. Cars are going to park there for whenever they please, as long as they please, because that is what is happening now. I've spoken to Patrolman Graff. I've spoken to the police department. They know. I think they know my voice on the phone. They hate to hear me say there's another guy out there. He's there 2 weeks. But the point is that if you want to solve the problem of parking on Woodruff Avenue, on the north end, if 700 Scarsdale Avenue, what's going on there is that the people don't want to pay for private parking at 700 Scarsdale Avenue. So what they do is just park on Woodruff. And they know they could park as long as they want, as whatever they want, so they don't have to pay for parking. One of the solutions is tell the landlord you have to park here. Parking spots are included in the rental. That would be a thought. The second point is if you enforce the codes that are in place by the town of Eastchester, you will not have 10 or 15 cars sitting there from 8 in the morning until 6 at night. Have those cars move. If you want to have additional parking, put the parking up on Harney Road. I don't think that, that's an area that is more commercially oriented. There's more traffic there. Have parking up all on Harney for 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever the number may be. But don't put it on Woodruff. One of the other problems, it's not really a problem, but it's a reality, is that on a weekly basis there are scheduled deliveries for the commercial businesses up on 69 Harney Road. So large trucks show up, pull up on Woodruff, park on Woodruff in front of the fire hydrant, leave their trucks running, and they block traffic. Now, I understand this, they can't do it up on Harney Road, that's a mess. But the point is that I'm making is that additional parking there is going to clog up that street even more than it is now. So it's just an intolerable situation. And my other concern is, although you say no, I'm afraid that once you open Pandora's box, you can't close it back. Push comes to shove, the parking could move up Woodruff and end up being on both sides of Woodruff, and we end up with a terrible situation. So, in conclusion, I think this is a very bad plan. You don't need additional parking on Woodruff Avenue. What you need is additional code enforcement. You need to have the 2-hour parking enforced, either that or change the parking up on Harney Road and allow additional parking there. I understand that there are people who are working for a living. They're there 8, 9 hours. They've got to put their car somewhere. But not at the bottom of my driveway. It's just, it's intolerable.
But if you want to park, they got to pay too,
Thank you very much.
People don't get that,
That's the way it is. This is America. You want something, you got to pay for it.
Right. No, but really.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I
Thank you, Mike.
appreciate
There
it.
should be no expectation that there be, the ability to park anywhere you want, anytime. And we'll sit down, go over, I'll sit down with the chief and Lieutenant Graff and go over an enforcement plan there.
I could tell you some horror stories. There was a truck parked in front of my house for 2.5 weeks with out-of-state plates. I must have called 8 times, called the police department 8 times, and they said to me, okay, well, we took a look at it, now there's another 72 hours. They did ticket it. They said, well, we can't yank the truck because it's got legitimate plates on it. I said, yeah, but it could be stolen. There could be a dead body in there. I have no idea what's going on. It's been laying there for 2 weeks. These are things that have occurred many, many times over the 61 years that I've lived there. So it's a continual problem. It's got to be enforced. I've seen, very rarely do I see code enforcement on Woodruff. I've seen the cars in town, so I know there is one, but it very rarely comes up on Woodruff. So something's got to be done up there. We sort of get the feeling that the North End is sort of like the stepchild of Eastchester, and we like to get legitimized if we can.
Chester Heights says the same thing. They say the North End gets everything. Oh, my God. Chester Heights, we get nothing, and it's far from the truth
We've always
either
been
way.
the North End kids. Come on. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Yes.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm taller than my counterparts. I have to adjust the microphone.
No problem.
My name is Rachel Marling. I'm the resident of 18 Lakeview Avenue. I'm Frank Sweeney's next-door neighbor. I'd like to highlight that I share the sentiment that this is a bad decision. My rationale and feelings for it may be a little bit different. I'm the new kid on the block. I moved there in 2016, so even though I'm almost a decade in here in Eastchester, I don't have 50 and 61 years. But that said, when my husband and I bought the property that we bought, which I'll be honest is seemingly being described as an ersatz lot at the end of the street, that's not how we see it. That's my home. My kids play in that yard. Although I'm firmly familiar with the notion of right-of-way, I'm hard-pressed to believe that you can take 2 feet of curb and not damage the beautiful tree-lined street that we have. There are trees that are easily 100 years old. There are bushes that have been cultured and grown and trimmed for decades. My husband and I have invested over $100,000 in upgrading a house that probably had not been touched since 1990. We've invested time and effort in maintaining the yard, trimming branches so that they're not at risk of interrupting power lines, falling on pedestrians that are walking. This is our community. This community needs young people like me to come in and fix up these houses. The thought that we will do so, and we'll just come in and say, well, parking enforcement and the police said that we can take this curb and that's no harm, no foul. That's not true. It's not true. I'm attached to that property, even if it's street side. Changing that line does have implications. I understand the need for parking, and I understand the desire for it to not be in front of people's homes. The back of my home is not an alley. My yard is on the side. My kids play in that yard. People pass on the street, walk their dogs, say hi to us. It's lovely. It's community. Furthermore, around my lot, there currently is available parking on the Lakeview Avenue side. My experience with cars parked there has not been a good one. I don't have the same issues with long durations and weeks on end. That's not my challenge. Because that end of the street in particular is not in clear view of someone's window, it's not in front of someone's house, there is a tendency to believe that it is not someone's lawn. It is treated like a garbage lot, frankly. In the 9 years I have lived there, I have removed from that segment of Lakeview Avenue on curbside countless empty bottles of motor oil, pans of used motor oil that people have drained from their vehicles, beer cans, liquor bottles. There was a Starbucks cup that had human feces in it once. People park their cars there and they do not care. They're not necessarily people in the community. They're not people that respect the property. They're not people that think of it as someone's home. And it's my home. It's not a starter home. I'm there. My husband and I are there for life. That's our yard. If my personal attachment to this property is not top of mind for anyone, I do actually have a broader community safety concern. I absolutely agree with both of my neighbors who spoke about the traffic congestion on Woodruff Avenue. It is a two-way traffic street. People regularly come down that street in excess of the speed limit in both directions. You even commented on slowing down because there are children out on the street in our communities. At some point, if that street, God forbid, is narrowed because of parking, whether there's curb cuts or not, you're taking the only place that pedestrians can walk. That little curb is the only safe space. If you stay to the side, the cars can go around you with minimal risk. If you park cars on that side of the street, all of those pedestrians, and it is a very popular walkway for people. It's a curvy tree-lined street. People walk dogs, they're pushing strollers, kids on scooters. Mine are even too old for this. I'm not even talking about my two daughters. There are little kids out there. There are elderly people that like to stroll the neighborhood. If cars are parked there, it will force them to walk in the middle of the street where people are regularly driving down that like it's a thoroughfare, like it's the Autobahn. 35, 40 miles an hour. It happens on the regular. Further to some of the points about congestion, I have watched a fuel vehicle make what was probably a 26-point turn to try to get into the driveway of the apartment building, presumably to get oil for their heating facilities. If you have parked cars on both sides of the street, I actually don't know if it would be possible for some of those larger vehicles to enter that lot. And that's a service issue, not for me and my family, but for residents of that apartment building. I don't know what conversations have happened to date about this initiative. I would like to know more about the basis of the decision. I remain fundamentally opposed to it. I am willing to speak with you to better understand. I'm willing to brainstorm if there are alternatives. But I am begging you, please do not come in and cut 2 feet of curb, because it is not without its implications. It seems like it's just the back of somebody's house, and it doesn't matter. But there are bigger concerns here that those of us that live on the stretch of street can speak to and obviously feel very passionately about. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But thank you again for hearing us out.
Thank you.
Good evening, Charlie Galenick, 21 Potter Place. I think it's Scarsdale, 105,
Yeah, Not for long, maybe.
but I'm not sure. Or as my friend Mr. Moses, God bless him, used to say Eastchester, Eastchester, but the post office says it's Scarsdale. As our good friend would say, Mark Twain, that everyone talks about the weather, but no one does anything about the weather. We have a beauty of a town called Eastchester, New York. And maybe Mr. Moses is helping me out with this, but as he would always say, he loves the town as we all do. And the quality of life here has to really outweigh those empty buildings that might not get the taxes, that we may have to just throw a little bit more in to keep things Eastchester, Eastchester, not Bronx, New York, not Mount Vernon or some other place. Our home, our town. This is why we moved here. And the board, all of our departments do a fantastic job. I don't think you can find many people in this town that have anything negative to say about anything, and that's why we're still here. I'm not as long as my other two friends. As Bobby De Niro would say, I've been here a little bit, but I still love all that little bit that I've been here for my family. With our friends, the businesses, up until this time, there's no complaints. However, with this other business, which it seems a lot of times we're not even mentioning it, is now an issue. Going into the parking on Montgomery, supposedly some of the people that work there, employed, are the ones that are parking also on that street. And it's not for someone coming in as a customer for an hour. And this is a situation that we also have in town, as you're well aware of. We can't have buildings coming in and expanding. And when we have a 1.3, I think that's the formula of cars that you need for the building sites. But if they know that and then they come back and they want variances and we keep on squashing it down, or if they expand and more employees, more people, then you're going to need more parking spots. And if we have meters all over the place and folks don't want to get out and walk a little bit, I thought people pay money to go to these fancy gyms and these spas and stuff where they could get it for free by just walking. Okay? The meters will take your money from wherever you're at, you know? So we have lots of great things here. As far as a member of the Northeast Civic Association, I would say what the world is about is talking and compromising. And actually, as you suggested, Supervisor, to go out and take a look and possibly come back in front of the board again. That would be a real nice thing to do. And if you start to, another thing with the chief and the engineers want to take a look, if you start to kicking out or kicking in 2 feet, that's 2 feet. What's the width of a car? So now you're going to be putting a car out there in the street. On the other side of the street, the south side of the street, there's always something, and there's cars not legally maybe parked, maybe they are, trucks. So now you're going to narrow it down. We're talking about the same thing, fire engines, sanitation trucks, and everything. And if you start to cut a curb there and think about putting meters there, when you come to the point, as it's getting down to Scarsdale Avenue, I would assume you're going to need a stop sign there. And then if you have a stop sign, how many feet from the stop sign going backwards is no parking? So I would really think about Eastchester, Eastchester, thinking about the quality of life of the homeowners, not the businesses. Where do the businesses live? Do they live right next door to these folks that got to deal with this? Most likely they don't even live in town. So I ask you, I implore you, please, this time around, let's think about it and try to recommend to these folks maybe a simple thing on their end. Get somebody to be a parquet valet. Let them park the cars at the meters. They can do that if they don't want to walk the people, the clientele. There's solutions. Don't take away from people that are trying to keep their property, keep the town fine. Help them out. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Brennan. I'm the owner of 27 Woodruff Avenue. I appreciate everyone's time here. This was kind of a little bit of fourth-party information regarding this. Obviously, I'm a tiny fraction of a homeowner since 2020. Coming up September would be 5 years of the house that you had mentioned that's now under renovation. We're all signed off on our approvals and stuff. I'm in contract for sale, but the neighborhood is fantastic. This is going to be an investment, obviously, maybe not a huge one for the pavement to push it over 2 feet or whatnot. There's already been rules and regulations that were, proposed and put into place, which I'm going to assume for the parking to appease the private homeowners for when the approval process was going through for the buildings. I'm just guessing, right? So like, okay, we're going to do this. Well, these homeowners that were currently there, okay, well, we're going to do this for you. We're going to have this parking set aside on the street from here to there, and I'm sure this is developed over time. It's going to be 2-hour parking and things like that. It's going to keep increasing and increasing. And for these folks who are used to their way of living, and yeah, 2 feet doesn't seem like much. One, at the end of Woodruff, and I didn't have a lot of time to prepare this. I only found out about this a couple hours ago, and I want to support the neighborhood. I invested my life savings into Eastchester. 50 years old. I've been working since I'm probably 13. So I think the number one thing is that the enforcement issue is being overlooked. And instead of, these rules were put into place and signs put up, that investment, and it's not being enforced. Instead of looking back on the enforcement like, okay, no one's following the rules, no one follows, the signs, well, let's put 10 more spots, right? I think that's just going to bring more people searching for, oh, they had that 5 more spots over there. So we have people, and I've seen it, they come in, and I follow them, and I hope this isn't illegal, but they park their work vehicle, right? They have their work van overnight. They live, maybe 5-6 blocks away. Some people I see hit the Bronx River every day. They park their work vehicle overnight. They come back in the morning, they park their car there, take their work vehicle, go to work. So just say, I'm not saying JP McHale, but industry like that, they have like 50 trucks. They let the guys take the trucks home for work. Maybe
And they can't park in the driveway. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but they get on the Bronx River Parkway, so they're 9 times out of 10, like I've watched. So they're parking it on Woodruff to have free parking for this vehicle that maybe their landlord would not allow them to keep at their house, right? So they're keeping their personal vehicle there, swapping it out.
We have a law that says you can't park a commercial vehicle in your driveway also. That's what I was referring to.
Oh, okay. Oh, I gotcha. Pardon me for that.
It's okay.
Like these folks were saying, I've called, I think I've seen in the 5 years, and I've only really, I would say cumulatively been a resident, for a little over 2 years, just staying there on and off over the 5 years during periods of time, renovating my other house, things like that. I haven't seen a lot of police activity or any enforcement at all. I get from the bottom of the south side of Woodruff up, you got those buildings, there has to be parking. Then you have the businesses. Is the concern for the extra parking more so for the clientele or for an unspecified reason or for the workers offhand, would you know?
Well, I've been communicated with by the business owners who live in town and some of the condo residents that obviously reside in town because that's where their homes are. So it's not, the outside non-resident is not driving this. It's people that have their business there. Those that I've spoken with live in the town, and they're looking for some help. They're looking for an additional parking.
Okay,
And
so
that was the thought.
Pardon me.
Okay, no problem.
So I would
That was the
feel-
genesis of the.
Yeah, I would
agreement.
feel like a natural course of action to take was to before, you know, I'm not saying this plan is set in stone, you guys are getting it done, because I see you're willing to, you know, work with
course.
everyone. I think the first step, in my opinion, would be to put some type of, you know, control under that area. One, well, let me not get off track here. Control under that area, because, you know, just creating more parking is just going to create more problems with the same type of thing that I'm talking about. People leaving their car for 3 or 4 days, or, you know, 10 hours in the 2-hour parking zone. And on Mondays, I think the sign says no parking between 1 and 2. Nothing's ever done. But that would allow rotation, right? So if that's not enforced, then we add this, right? And it's going to be metered?
No.
Oh,
It'd just
okay, it's
be
not going to be metered. I
Hourly
misunderstood.
timing.
So now just say you want to have 5 or 6 people over for, I expanded my driveway just for, I had 2 parking spots, now I have 4, and I had to go through a whole rigmarole and huge amount of finances to get that done, because, you know, people want to have a couple people, you want to have a couple people over, where they're going to park at the train station, because everything's filled up from these people that are supposed to be rotating, you know, so you want to have someone over for coffee for an hour and a half, there's nowhere to park. So I'm going to just do off these notes here a couple of things. I'm not going to try to eat up too much time, but hopefully it makes some kind of connection or expresses my opinion on behalf of myself, who's leaving the area, going to a different area of Eastchester soon, and on behalf of these folks. I think it's dangerous. So I am that triangle that you're speaking of, right? So it would be from the end of the triangle, Frank's yard, 10 feet up. You got 2 exits of the building in the back, which is already a disaster, because these guys are pulling out with trucks with ladder racks and everything else. They are kind of boxed in from that exit, so they can't really see as they're coming out. Now there's going to be another line of cars with only 2 feet. Cars, well, I think a regular lane of traffic, if I'm not mistaken, is 8 foot. You know, the 2-way traffic, right? So 2 feet. There's already a problem with these guys coming out with their ladder racks and trucks and just regular personal vehicles, people taking turns to come out, and, you know, traffic's going down. It's already tight. I don't think 2 feet to put a car there on top of it, because that's within that 10 foot there, one of the exits to the rear of the building. So it's pretty dangerous. And I don't know what the entire plan is, but then towards you get to the end of Woodruff, south side, bottom of Woodruff, towards the train tracks, you know, it's already kind of, you know, you have Lakeview coming down. You got a nice sign that tries to keep people under 30 going up. It's already hard to maneuver that as it is. And then we also have, they were mentioning deliveries with trucks and things like that, right? These are tractor trailers, 18-wheelers that Galloway's and some of the other business, not to make them specific, are parking dead in front of my house, in front of the fire hydrant, idling. It shakes the whole house. It's embarrassing, like when I had my realtor come over and, you know, oh, we want to do an open house, but it's going to make people realize that there's going to be nowhere to park because they're going to come for the open house. So that limited the amount of people that I could show my house to, because a lot of people don't want to just do an exclusive. They want to, you know, walk around and see the house without having, you know, you go car shopping, you want a guy right up your butt right away. Oh, hey, how you doing today? Like, you want to walk through the house, you check it out, you know, instead of exclusive appointment, things like that. So I think it's dangerous. It's going to bring more people that are going to be searching for these spots that they could use instead of paying for parking for their commercial. And it's not, you know, always marked commercial, but it's like their little, you know, work vans with a ladder on the top, no commercial plates, but they're swapping out their vehicles and they're staying there for days over the weekend. I think it was just a little bit surprising that this is like not something that would be, I know it's 2 feet for, 2 feet for how many feet down the block?
End of your property to that before that big tree?
Right.
And
before
then after the
tree.
big
So
tree,
it
there's a
doesn't
stop
seem
sign.
huge. It doesn't seem huge, but Frank's looking at it out his back deck. And then it also, like, number one, I think is just, it's pretty dangerous. I'd mentioned if you have a gathering, I'm just surprised, like, you know, even just put it, they wouldn't send out, or the council and the municipality wouldn't send a letter out, like, we're entertaining the idea of doing this, which maybe is still upcoming, and maybe Frank, through third party, gave us a jump on the information. So maybe that's something you typically would do, is fill people in, like, hey, we were thinking about doing this. How do you taxpayers feel about your money going to this project to lower your safety and quality of life, you know? So I figured you would, you know, someone would bring that to the attention of the homeowners. So this is the first I'm hearing of it. Frank is filled in on everything, and it seemed like he was kind of in a scurry that he just found out about it. So the limitations on the parking, like, I think that would solve a lot of the need. Instead of, like, just dumping the money into doing it, like, the rules and regulations were put into action for a reason. I'm going to assume to pacify, like, okay, we have these buildings going up, but we're going to keep this your block. And now, you know, 10 years go by, we'll push them a little further, we'll push them a little further. But if they were enforced, there'd be plenty of time for rotation. I mean, how long does it take to get your hair done, pick up a dozen donuts from Galloway's? It's not going to be 2 hours. These cars are there all day, right in front of Mike's house, Mike Fasiglione's house, and a little bit past the sign. So the unenforced parking regulations, if enforced, I think would eliminate a significant financial investment by the municipality, and the need for this type of encroachment on the community's properties. Although it is your property, it's just encroaching on their properties by adding 2 foot of space to a roadway that's going to fit, you know, a car that's 5 feet wide, where the 2 lanes of traffic are already tight. I already mentioned there's people who don't live on the block that are parking there. I mean, you can't do nothing about that, right? Just say you want to take a walk, you park on the side of the road, you walk your dog, whatever. But we have people, you know, they get out, they're not part of the neighborhood. They, you know, like dump a little, every single time I've ever been to my house on 27 Woodruff, obviously some things blow out of the garbage truck, things like that. But I'm sitting there watching, you know, someone gets out, they're not part of the neighborhood, they throw their McDonald's bag on the ground, their cigarette wrappers, pull on the side of the road, smoke a butt. So, I don't know, their food bags, cigarette packs, drink containers, and, you know, why would they care? Because they're not part of the neighborhood. So, you know, many years ago, these things, like, but what were you in, if you don't mind mentioning, Mike, when you bought your house? We were talking about when you bought your house, what you paid. 1964. Yeah, 1964, you're at what? $24,000, right? So, you know, it's like, okay, well, it's a minimal investment. Like, this isn't where these houses are now only increased to $300,000, and everyone deserves, even if you have a $300,000 house, I think you deserve this quality of life, or you have, you know, signs up for parking enforcement, and it's enforced. Like, you know, you have signs up, pay your taxes on this day, we pay them. So enforce the laws that you put into place. Like, you know, oh, you got to call, you know, drive through. You know, like, oh, can you give us a discount because no one's looking on our taxes because you're ignoring our block? That's not going to happen. So just enforce it. Like, just go. Like, all right, this guy's been here for 3 days. I don't care about towing, right? The 72 hours, is that regarding towing and having the cars removed, or you can't even ticket them?
72 hours for inspection, and the second 72 hours before they can ticket.
So you can't get a ticket?
John, address the chair.
I was just
believe-
wanting to
I believe
double
the
check
rule is
because
that-
I'm not as well versed as these guys, and I want to support them.
Yeah, we got that. And enforcement will be of great concern to the police
I think
department.
it'll alleviate the whole problem. You're not going to need extra parking if you guys or
Find
your
out.
predecessors put this stuff into place to eliminate the problem of where we're going to have to rip down a curb off of Frank's backyard so people can park. Like, enforce it. You're never going to have to do that because the rotation's going to happen. You're in an hour, you're out an hour. You get your donuts, you leave.
We'll see.
I'll finish up with some things here and it's not going to be much longer. I realize everyone has things that they want to do.
Yeah, we have a 5-minute rule, which you've gone beyond, but that's okay.
Oh
Don't
my
worry.
God, I thought I was at 4.59.
Yeah,
So
no
anyway,
problem.
at
Take
this
your time.
point, these houses are $850,000 to, you know, I listed mine for $849. We have an offer pending that is astronomically higher than that, and these people are going to be, you know, start being surprised that, you know, the changes that happens, it's not a good invitation to the neighborhood. I mean, and again, like they said, there's people flying up and down that Harney building. I've tried the DPW, code enforcement. I keep getting bounced back and forth, dumping garbage out back, construction debris coming out of vans from the other block. It's just already annoying. So it sounds like that, you know, people aren't following the rules and regulations. We're not going to enforce it, so let's just change it instead of enforcing it. We got, like I said, tractor trailers pulling onto the block 7 a.m., blocking the fire hydrant. I've made a call about that. No one comes until they're gone. And that brings it down to where, you know, you have older people, you know, that are in little cars that can't even squeeze by. They're blocking the fire hydrant. There's always debris in the road from the pallets that are being unloaded, nails sticking up. That has nothing to do with the parking situation, but I figured I'd mention it because I've never had the chance to talk to the board directly or the council, the clerk, the attorney, and the supervisor, which I appreciate the time. One of the problems that I have while I'm here, you know, the only residential block, I look out my front door, I got a 5-yard bright red commercial dumpster with animals going in and out of it. I called the health department, I called the town, oh, nothing we can do. I'm like, did they ever get a permit to have a dumpster there? Because they used to have garbage cans. That's out the front door. So, you know, I'm fortunate that my house value is where it's at, but where would it be if that was not there? I don't know. So anyway, we avoided doing an open house just for that reason. I'm John Brennan, 27 Woodruff. I want to support these guys because they've always supported me. And I think the first plan of action, besides writing up a proposal to add parking spots, is just do what was originally planned to be done and enforce the rules that you put into place to begin with. Like, we don't feel like enforcing, let's put more spots in Frank's, off of Frank's backyard, not Frank's backyard, your property. That's it for me. I appreciate the time, and I think that would work out much better. And, you know, there's plenty of spots, too, right across the street. It's not always full there. People don't want to walk. They're handicapped. That's one thing. Maybe put a couple of handicap spaces. You know, if it's raining, you get an umbrella, you walk from the main roadway there. Again, like I assume that all these rules and regulations were put into place to make everybody in the neighborhood happy, to get these buildings built, turn it commercial if it wasn't always commercial, and then over time, just make the individual homeowner lose. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Congratulations on your
Sorry I was
sale.
scattered all over the place, but I had to put together what I could within like 2 hours, and I run my
It's all right.
business.
Yeah, great job.
But part of part of why you got what you got for your home is because we're extremely conscientious and try to do the right thing and try to keep Eastchester a great place. And a lot of people love to buy in this town. And people that sell in the town generally stay in the town at some other smaller place or apartment, whatever, because, you know, we do the right thing. We try to do the best we can. So
And
I'm sure you appreciate that. and
I
we'll-
appreciate it. I'm fully aware of it, and that's why I put my life savings into this town. So,
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. Anyone else? 1 minute. 1 minute. You spoke for about 20, so I'm going to give you a minute. It's all right, no problem.
There's one remaining issue. So everybody understands between 69 Harney Road and 700 Scarsdale Avenue, there's a piece of property called town property. About 9 feet, maybe 6 or 7, 9 feet. I want to be brief. The people have come to you looking for help. We have gone to the town looking for help. Because at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, when they're turning over an apartment or a condominium, what do? They take their commodes, their sinks, and their kitchen and put it on your property. And it sits there for weeks. They bring a contractor in. He doesn't care where he leaves it. Oh, let's just throw it on the town property. We have spent endless hours in the planning department with pictures all over the place. They have a building manager that lives in White Plains. He has no idea what common law 6 is. And when you put out your trash, and when you put out your refuge, nothing. I'm just putting it on the record. They come to you for help. But when we ask them for help, trying to pick up stuff, I want to just give Mike and the people on Woodruff Avenue a shout out. There isn't a blade of grass from a lighter all the way down to John's place that's out of space. It is clean, it is cared for, it's a nice block to be in. Nice.
We contributed to the niceness
I know that.
with the fence across the street and the little
The
pathway.
idea is I'm not going
and
to
all-
spend any more time. I just want to lay the land flat down. Come for help. We were looking for help. Did we get it? No. End of story.
I wouldn't agree with that statement, but, all right, thank you.
30 seconds from me?
Hey,
It will be 30 seconds. This is
29.
about the parking.
You have to approach the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. 45 seconds. This is about the parking. This is the only opportunity I'm going to have. I've invested my own money to clean up this spot. So behind Galloway's or the 67 Horny building, town property. Gary Gibbs, talk to the highway department. Highway department, talk to Gary Gibbs. Blah, blah. So they're end of the month dumping construction debris. You know, they're remodeling the place to get it rented, right? I go for my first showing, right, to make sure everything's cleaned up. And this has happened 50 times. People are dumping there. No one wants to help us. Oh, we were told, you know, there's an ongoing lawsuit not to clean up. So on my own dime, I've cleaned it up because I've got...
Wait, who's dumping where?
They're dumping every
Day.
at least in the 5 years that I've owned this property, 60 or 70 times. So you're familiar because you're the boss.
I live there.
The back entry where the garage is, so behind Galloway's.
I mean, wait,
Woodruff.
for the 69 Harney,
South
not
side.
700
Oh, to
Scarsdale.
the right of the wall and before 700, that one spot right there.
Yeah.
They just, like, construction debris. One guy was a cop that lived across the street. I think he ended up getting arrested himself, not within the town, for stealing, like, construction debris off the property. He was sending his guys to dump stuff, which is, what was that road up top? Harney, off of Harney. I confronted the guy dumping it. I'm like, listen, you can't do that. DPW was just here. They don't take construction debris. Came back the next day, $700 window broken with a brick. No one wanted to help me with that. Oh, did you get him on video? All right, well, here's a picture of the guy. Here's a picture of the truck. Nothing happened. But anyway, it was just like continuous. So to try to get help on that, especially when you're marketing the home, I came so it would be the 58th or 60th time I come, and there's another pile there. Meanwhile, I have the realtor coming, I have a drone coming for photos, everything else. And then because the area is what you guys built it to be and the homeowners built it to be, people wanted to see it right away. I had to move stuff, put stuff behind the dumpster. I'm like, this is the last thing. I already got a bright red dumpster. It looks like a fire truck sitting out my door that nobody wants to help me with. Like, can you put, like, from the phone pole to, like, 6 feet out, just something to camouflage it? My time's up. But nothing maniacal. I was respectful to the town, building department. You got to talk to this guy. You talk to this guy. Talk to this guy. Talk to this guy. I'm like, I got to go to work, man. I can't put 40 hours into this. My taxes are paying for this. Enforce it. It's town property. They're dumping it in the building. No one cares because the homeowners get the letter. They never pass it on to the renters. So that every time they want to move, outside of the people who are just straggling from other places dumping stuff there, 90% of the time, I would say it's people vacating when the salon was under construction, dumping tile, sinks, toilets, just sitting there. Can you guys help me? Oh, no, it's not really at the curb, so we can't help you with that, but it's on the town property. So I don't know, it just became an issue. I'm in contract, hopefully it's closing, but it's going to be over for me. It's not going to be for them. They don't want to look at that. So that's that. It's just been an issue. It has nothing to do with the parking, but you let me talk, and I appreciate it.
You got it. Okay, John, thank you. All right, I guess that's it. Someone care to make a motion to adjourn?
So
In favor?
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.